Nice decorations, bro.
Yeah, look at that.
It's very spooky. It's very on brand.
The webs aren't actually decoration. I just haven't dusted for a while.
Do you have a costume lined up?
I don't. Only because we haven't figured out what Mia's going to be.
Okay, that's cool. Well, we can get into that. We can get into what the kids are doing and what you're doing for the super spooky Misfit Halloween special. Ooh. Roll the credits.
Sir.
From Sydney, Australia, all the way to Portland, USA, two misfits hang out after class to riff on the B-sides of professional life. These are your Professional Misfits. All the way from Sydney, Australia, I am your host, Christopher Sellers.
From Portland, Oregon, I'm Broedy Ipox.
And we are your Professional Misfits, where we riff on the B-sides of life. And welcome, Misfits, to your super spooky Halloween Misfit special. Super creepy, super spooky.
Chris didn't participate at all. I mean, geez,
well, we'll get into why. We will get into why. Okay. We will discuss the differences, the cultural differences between Americans and Australians and Halloween and all that sort of shit. But anyway, this is a bit of a bonus, Misfits. We're in between season 5 and 6, so season 6 will start recording probably next week, so you get a little Halloween taster in the meantime. So Broedy, Halloween, it's coming up. Have you always been a Halloween kid? Is it a big deal to you? What's the cultural significance for Broedy Ipox of Halloween?
I don't know if there's any direct cultural significance other than the influence that came from my mother. So it was her favorite always.
Oh, really? Not Christmas,
fall.
not Valentine's, not a birthday?
No.
Oh, wow.
No, it was Halloween in Disneyland, my friend. And tried and true, up into the end, those were her favorite things. So, yeah, Halloween was it. And because of her enthusiasm behind it, it just was great every year. It was just fun and enjoyable. And she was... I think I've talked about this in the past, and I don't want to get too heavy right off the rip because this is a fun episode. But
yeah.
She struggled with her own mental health stuff. So when that rolled around and it was that pick me up, and she was there, and it was her, and she was present and happy, that was the best.
Should have leaned right into it.
Yeah. So Halloween is pretty cool for me. I'm cool with
all
it.
The Halloweens. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Australia. I mean, in general, actually, Australia. Real quick, can we talk about that? Is that...
You can. Well,
because we've covered Christmas, we've covered Valentine's, I think. Yep. What about Halloween?
We don't do Halloween. It's an American thing.
Okay.
Well, okay. Let me qualify. I'll give you the 60-second abridged version. It's an American thing. It's an American tradition. That's cool. Y'all do what you do over there, like Thanksgiving. Do whatever you want to do. It's really got nothing to do with us. But what?
Oh yeah, touche. Yeah. Why would you guys celebrate?
Why would we do Thanksgiving, right? Why believe it or not, the rest of the world has different cultures and customs. But this is one of the things that pisses me off is because Australia, we tend to borrow things from the cool cousin every now and then, and Halloween seems to be one of those things that is snuck in as an excuse to get. Well, I don't know if it's on the rise, but it's, and I'll get to that later. Right. Okay. We'll get deep into that later. But I don't know if it's on the rise, but it is one of those things that we seem to have appropriated really for an excuse to dress up, maybe have a party, but it's more for the kids. I would put it on par as for an Easter bunny hunt for Easter is the same as kids would go trick-or-treating and whatever, but not nearly as popular. But we'll get into We'll get into so it's not for us, and I in particular am a Halloween Scrooge. So we will get into that later. I'm sure.
Do you want to get into it now? Why are you a Scrooge?
Well, because it's an American thing.
It cancels you out. It cancels you out being a Halloween kid, obviously.
And I never have been. And straight up, it's an American tradition. The fuck has it got to do with us? Can we get our own shit?
Did your parents celebrate it at all? Did they try to get you guys to dress up or no? Okay.
No, it was, and mind you, it would be on TV around this time of year, ooh, Halloween specials and shit. But it's okay, that's what you do over there. Cool. You know, cool. Okay. Like Oktoberfest for the Germans and the Scandies and everything. Like, cool. You over there do that.
We stole that. We do that over here now.
That's right. So same as 4th of July. Like, it's got nothing. Oh, good for you. Have a party. Have some fireworks. Right. Yay, America.
But do you guys not have kind of like your own version of Independence Day? Not on 4th of July, obviously, but like is
controversial. I'd love an Independence Day because we're still we're still part of the Commonwealth. That's right. True. So we're still we've had this discussion before. Like we do have Australia Day, which is very, very similar to your Columbus Day. So of course now that's in controversy because of all the colonizers and everything else, and that can be a right. And should we move the date and everything else? And so that's a whole other cultural discussion. But Halloween sort of falls into that bucket. Personally, for me, it's like I don't know why we need to appropriate these other things. And it sounds like I hate on kids because we just want to get dressed up and go trick or treating and like whatever. And I'm like, fuck off, get off my street. Don't knock on my door. Don't we're Australians. We've got our own shit. Like celebrate drop bears, celebrate koalas and platypi. We don't.
How do you do that though? You don't just have a day where you hand out fucking koalas.
We should.
Like
you joke. You joke, but we've got caramello koalas and we've got other little like small chocolate, like similar to a Freddo frog. I don't know if you have those.
It's possible then. It's possible.
You do, and like little bilbies and koalas and platypi. It's. Bro,
and think about, oh my God, that's one of the things I was going to talk about. Is think about the motherfucking candy. Like, holy shit, even in the US. I think, what was the stat? I should have written it down. Do you know how much the US spends on candy per chance?
I don't.
I think it's billions of dollars on candy. Annually.
Yep.
Oh my fucking God. What? Like fucking pumpkin shaped wax and like, you know what I mean? All like, holy shit.
So for someone who doesn't know, like me, like break down Halloween and trick-or-treating, like break it down. Like, because this might sound foreign to you and like 90% of the Misfits watching, but I've never trick-or-treated. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the gimmick is. I don't know where it comes from. Like, I've seen it on TV, but like never done it, never experienced it. So what's the deal?
Okay. Interesting.
How fucking interesting. Oh, the world isn't American. Oh, shit. Like,
I know it sounds ignorant, right? But like, I don't even think, I think if you looked at a ton of Australians and I wish you guys had a more prominent holiday for yourselves. You know what I mean? That was like, we only celebrate this because it would kind of be the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just naturally assume, but, yeah. Okay. God damn. That threw me off. God, you're a weirdo. Okay, so Halloween. So for the Misfits, and a ton of our American viewers will know this, I actually live in Halloween Town. That is where one of the like kind of cult classics was filmed. It's the courthouse. It's in the main, like, oh my God, we have an event that's all October long that, so we have like a population of, I think like 10 to 12,000. I'm not positive there. I may be completely wrong. 10 to 12, but we got something last year, crazy, like an influx of 50 to 70,000 people during this time, just in our little town. And then, we've got spots where Twilight had filmed in our town as well.
So hang on. So again, like as a foreigner, I've just joined the dots. So like Portland, Oregon, like how close are you to Salem and the whole thing?
I'm not far from Salem, actually. It's probably like an hour and a half from me. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Please continue. Yes.
Yeah. So there's like a ton of that kind of, franchise history that goes on here during the holiday. And like, I'm so excited. I even get to put Halloween Town in this fucking title because of how clickbaity it is. But that's the thing. So I think Halloween on an average block, right, is you might have a few decorations outside. If you plan to stay home, you're going to flick on your porch lights, and that lets the kids know that you're open for them knocking on the door.
All right. Paint. Sorry to interrupt as the tourist raising my hand here. Like, paint the picture. There's 10 houses in a street. Out of those 10 houses, how many of them have Halloween decorations up?
3.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if we're looking at a solid,
8 or 9.
Yeah, if we're looking at a solid real average, like that's what it looks like. So if you go down here on our main street downtown where the Halloween Town stuff is going on, there's an entire fucking street that's blocked off because people come through and just look at how much decorations are out on these guys' properties and shit.
Right. Similar to doing Christmas light drive-bys and shit.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm with you.
All right.
And there's a couple neighborhoods here in St. Helens that do that as well. They go just ham bony. Like, oh my God. Like, you've been collecting for quite some time to have these kind of decorations. But then, like I said, even the kind of popular streets where a lot of the trick-or-treating is done, it might be one block is really decorated and it goes all out. The rest of them, it's like that average. It's like maybe 3 out of 10. But I will say, as the years have gone on, more and more porch lights are on, even if the decorations aren't out. You know what I mean?
Right. So if you're at home, you turn your little porch light on, you signal to everyone we're doing the thing.
Yep. And I've done both. So you stay home, and if you're on a busy street, it is literally you're not sitting down. You're just probably standing at the door, not even closing it, handing out candy. And it's just one kid after another. Then if you're trick-or-treating with the kids or for yourself, it's, you find the best block, the busiest one, the one that has the most money. Like, where can we get the best candy? And, decorations kind of plays into it too. Like, especially with the littler guys, we've made it a point to go to those neighborhoods that are kind of crazy, So we'll go do that, and we'll take off probably right around the time that it starts to get dark, and spend a solid 2, maybe 3 hours just walking and knocking on doors and trick-or-treating. That's it. That's all. That's what we're doing. The parents generally stay on the sidewalk and just send the kids up. Maybe sneak a piece of candy on the way, but like that's generally it in a nutshell. It's nothing sophisticated. It's nothing crazy. It's just truly, I think, and this is my personal opinion and why I participate and why I like it. There's an abundant sense of community. Like that's the thing for me. It doesn't matter of faith. It doesn't matter. I can't see you. You're behind a fucking mask. You know what I mean? And
unless you're a slutty nurse or something, right?
Fair. And that does happen. You will even see them on the streets that the kids are trick-or-treating. You're like, you better walk into a house. When I've got my 12-year-old almost getting hit by cars because he can't stop staring. Yeah, it's a problem.
And normally they travel in packs of 3 or 4 as well. So it's normally like a slutty, slutty, like Catwoman, slutty, like Picket,
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, so I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And the night's simple, and it's just walking. And I really think that's where people get invested, is that it's everyone participating in something. I don't give a fuck what it is, right? It's like the same thing as that during Christmas, that hill that's popular and everybody goes sledding. Like some people don't even fucking like sledding, but it's Christmas and everybody's sledding.
It's that time you do the thing. It's a social communal thing. I totally get it. Yeah. Explain to me the trick or treat gimmick, because we had a little bit of chat about this off camera, and I'm like, I don't get it, but I'm gonna save this for here, because again, like as an ignorant foreigner, I don't get the trick or treat thing. Or where I have a vague idea of where it came from, but I want to hear it. I want to hear it for the voice of all Americans.
Yeah, so I'll say that I think it's definitely been franchised, obviously. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing as Christmas in my eyes. Like, it's way less about like the practice of it. I think that had a lot to do with, again, community, addressing community back in the day, where it was, you know, on this night we dress up to know who's who and to scare or blend in with bad spirits kind of thing. And when you went door to door communally, you would recognize, okay, this is somebody dressed up, I know their costume, I know this person. That was the kind of trick or treat in it, and it was more, again, about community. Now it's fucking commercialized out the asshole, and again, $8 billion or some crazy number on candy annually is the ritual. So the kids will walk up to the door. Literally, I'm not even kidding you. We have talked about this off camera, and I've agreed with Chris. I think it's asinine. I don't fully understand. I don't understand it, and I'm so excited for your fucking punchline here, my friend, because this is it. This is all it is. The kid walks up, knocks on the door. They open the door. Kid says, trick or treat.
Trick or treat. Yeah.
And then they get candy. And that's it.
And I said to Broedy at the time, fuck it, trick. Like, what do you got? You know, you think you want candy? Work for it. I don't like fucking 6-year-old Daphne, you know, dressed up as Tinkerbell, like, trick. Let's go. Lazy. Like, and again, like, as a tourist, as a dirty immigrant, I know I believe there's a historical backstory, like, of where this sort of originated from, and I'm not quite sure what it is, but you might have a better idea. But that obviously seems to have been lost, just so the kids can have a good time and like whatever. But yeah, for the cynic over here in Australia, like, if you got Australian kids running around going, "Hey, trick or treat," I straight up, I'm like, trick.
Yep. Yeah, I told Chris, I was like, I don't think I would be able to not do that after the fact. Every kid, if you don't have a backflip or some card trick lined up, like, you don't get the Snickers. I mean, fuck you.
Weren't you supposed to be punked? Like, if you weren't giving out candy, you like got punked by the kid or something like that? But like,
totally. Oh, totally. Right. And I definitely participated in that. I will not lie.
Okay.
So, okay, let's just jump into one of my topics then. Let's go. So, it's just one experience that we've had each on Halloween. Like, whether that's you not participating and seeing something or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
So for me, it was one of the most memorable times. I think I was like 13, 14 years old. And you know, you're getting to that age where it's like maybe a little too old, but it was me and my skateboarding friends. I was part of that punk group. Yep, I was. So we skated and did our trick-or-treating thing and came down a neighborhood, and man, I don't think there was a single fucking person on this house. What I wasn't thinking as a punk ass kid was, damn, they might all be parents and they might all be fucking trick-or-treating themselves. But I thought they just weren't handing out candy. So did my group, right? That's what eggs are for. That's what eggs are for.
Right.
And I kid you not, painted this fucking street yellow. Painted this street fucking yellow, dude.
I love it.
Mailboxes, fucking houses, windows.
Cars, trees, windows,
it was literally everything. It was everything. And that was probably one of my most memorable Halloween experiences, because we got just jacked on sugar and then went fucking vandalized property. Like, that was that. Woohoo! Like, oh my god, dude.
Skateboarding
is
not a crime. Skateboarding is not a crime.
No,
but some skateboarders are in fact criminal misfits.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Interesting.
Because we're starting our new editing, I'm gonna clip in right here, Misfits, a photo of 16-year-old Broedy with a skateboard.
Splicey. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Look, I don't have any memorable experiences because we don't. Yeah. Again, it's not really a thing. I don't think I've ever been to a Halloween party. Yeah.
Even on Halloween, like you never felt not even as a kid, not once. And I'm not like pushing it, but there wasn't one time where you were like,
no,
really?
dude. Like, okay. And so here's a reality check.
I do believe you.
But like, here's a reality check for you and probably everyone else in the States. Like, to the rest of the world, October 30th is just another day.
Right.
You know, like, cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's January 2nd. Like right. But there's like, I used to live a couple blocks over actually, and it was think of a street that's laid out like a C, and it was a one-way street all the way around. And in the middle of that C, running parallel, there was like a little back laneway, right? So it was a really cool little private laneway, you know, and a lot of family houses around. And actually at the mouth of the C was the local public school, right? Okay. So everyone sort of 12 and under, like, would go to that school. A lot of family houses around and all this sort of shit. So very, very suburban and family friendly. And
elementary for us. Yeah,
correct. And so around this time of year, so for October 30th, around the time I was living there, they began a little petition of like, we're going to close off the streets, and especially in this back lane, so that all the kids can kind of get dressed up and go around the whole sort of hood and trick or treat. And I was so salty about it. And
salty because you didn't want them doing it too, or salty because you wanted to participate?
Salty because it's got nothing fucking to do with us. Like, fuck off. We don't want your holiday. I don't want to appropriate your culture. It's not fucking cool. Can we not?
Did your parents ever say that kind of thing to you, where it was like, hey, you don't, because I don't get that vibe the way that you talk about it. It's like, this seems like a total Chris thing. Like, this is your decision. You chose it. You know what I mean? Like, it was, or was, was Glenn like, hey, fucking this holiday is stupid as fuck?
No. No one, like, no one else probably cares either as passionately about the dislike of Halloween. You know what I mean? But it's not even the dislike. Wait, it's not even the dislike of Halloween. It's the dislike of Australians buying into Halloween. Like, when in Rome, if I go to the States, I'd be like, right,
I get it.
If I go to the States, I'd be like, cool, I'll get dressed up. I'll do the thing. This is fucking cool to experience something new in its own culture. Right?
Halloween, Mardi Gras, like you said, 4th of July, those things. Yeah, you're here. Bro, why not?
Mardi Gras in Sydney, like the gay capital of Australia, possibly one of the gay capitals of the world. Off the chain, off the hook. And even then, I'll go to Mardi Gras and go to the fucking festival and shit like this, like the daytime fucking festival, and get around like, this is cool. Same thing, same super inclusive, same vibe. Everyone's chilled. No one's causing fucking issues. Parties and good food and all that sort of stuff. And everyone's wearing very skimpy clothing.
Why can you not get behind Halloween?
Because, again, it's an American cultural tradition and we're not American.
Okay, then let's. Okay,
it is that simple.
Then this
it is that we don't celebrate your 4th of July. We don't celebrate your Columbus Day. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving. We don't we don't celebrate your Labor Day. We don't celebrate any other fuck. We don't give a shit about your Super Bowl. Do not give a fuck, right? So, like, why? But we'll cherry pick this little thing, and I get it. And like, even when I was living there, I get it. It's for the kids. It's and that's all really good. But like fucking seriously, I just not my gym.
I got then two kind of topics blended together here. So kind of the origin of Halloween. I'll explain that here. And then, so as you know, and I think a lot of the Misfits, because we've gotten a comment or two about this. I'm if you had to put it on paper, I'm Christian. I like it. Okay. I really don't like that. Like, I don't like being boxed in. I don't think that's anyways, that's a different episode. Okay. So Christians and Halloween. I mean, you've got a 50-50 fucking split of people that go, you're satanic.
How is it not?
And you're fucked up.
How is it not a pagan?
Yep. Right.
Super pagan, super satanic festival, worshipping all these things. Okay. You're all hypocrites.
Okay, so this is from Joyce, and I asked her to be as accurate as possible using multiple sources and referencing each with commonalities. So The origin of Halloween, as we know it today, stems from a blend of ancient traditions, primarily the Celtic festival of Samhain. And I probably fucking butchered that. And the Christian celebration, the Christian celebration of All Hallows Eve.
Yes.
So, starting with it, the Celtic roots dating back to over 2,000 years ago, the ancient Celt who lived in Ireland, the UK, and northern France celebrated on October 31st, marking the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter, a time they believed the boundary between the living and the dead blurred. On this night, they thought the spirits could return to the earth, and to ward off these spirits, people would light bonfires and wear costumes. Okay, now this is the Christian influence. And this is All Hallows Eve. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as All Saints' Day for All Hallows Day to honor all saints before. The night before then became All Hallows Eve, which later shortened to Halloween. The Christians have observed this holiday and borrowed many of the elements from the Celtic traditions, incorporating the idea of honoring the dead. Okay. Now, I want to stop there for a second because this is one of the topics I want to talk about. Christians, I love you to death. I love you. I think at your core, you're really, you know, you're trying. I want to say that. I want to give you that. But it's shit like this where today, before we get on our episode, I go on.
Shit like this.
Yeah. Oh my God. I go on and so my For You page is going to have some faith-based things, stuff like that. And this is one of the fucking discussions. And it's almost for me like the same discussion as cursing or tattoos or anything like that. So am I not allowed to be a Christian because I've, in your eyes, broken some of those lines or boundaries that you believe are holy? Now this is where, again, I get so fucking frustrated because if you did 5 minutes of research, yes, you would realize that the Pope that started this holiday did have a little bit of inspiration from the Celtic practices, which are pagan, okay? But he claimed these for Christianity and has celebrated these for hundreds of years under the Christian faith, right? All Hallows Eve. And that's where it was actually primarily pushed. It wasn't because if everybody knows and is aware of this, the Celtic and pagan religions took a fucking big hit. Okay. There wasn't a lot practicing them. So when you
Easter, Christmas, go on.
But when you break down the origins of the celebrations, holidays, and rituals, these were almost things that, if you really pay attention, were kind of breadcrumb given to the faiths and religions and beliefs that were destroyed by Christianity. Now, again, I love you guys. But for all of the Christians that jump down every other Christian's throat about being satanic and falling into the trap of the devil and Halloween is evil and all of this stuff, where did you get this? Who told you? Who told you? And I mean, again, if there's no direct reference and you can't fucking find one, question it for yourself just a little bit.
Well, the Bible, Broedy, like, thou shalt not worship any other gods or worship false idols and things.
Right. And so this,
and Jesus was American, so you should worship him.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's that solved. So that's one thing we don't have to deal with over here, you know. But it is sweet. Like, even if you do Halloween, you can just show up to church on Sunday, go, really sorry about that, 5 Hail Marys, and sweet, you're good. Get out of jail free.
And again,
that's how it works, right? That's how religion works. That's how Christianity works.
And again, so for the Christians that are fired up in that kind of sense, so I get, again, where you are coming from. It's the practice and it's the principle. Okay, I'm not going to argue that that's what you're attached to. I'm going to argue that my practice and my principle just don't align with yours. And that doesn't make me any more unfit or fit for the fucking kingdom of God than you. Same as my dirty fucking mouth or my shitty fucking tattoos. Like, I probably will not, in my belief, I'm not going to burn in hell. A lot of you probably think I will.
I'll do you one better, and I wish I could cite the source immediately, but it's from one of my books by Alain de Botton. It might even be something for religion for atheists. It might be, but he's referencing one of the popes back around the medieval times, because it's really interesting that certain holidays and even religious festivals, even Catholic religious festivals, will phase in and out of popularity, or be adopted for a long time and then sort of be phased out. But there was one in particular, and I wish I could remember what it was, but it was really similar to what you're describing. Like, on this day will be like a holy day, which meant the week before it was all bets are off debauchery, and it was sanctioned, and it was sanctioned by the church, right? Because we know, like, right, and that's where it gets really interesting, because back then they had sort of an understanding of, like, you want to be a good Catholic for 365, right? And we're going to have a very special day on this day, but it's insane, inhumane, and unreasonable to kind of keep you dialed at 100 the whole time. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you like a week off. Okay, so yeah, and it was orgies, it was wine, it was festivals. Like, the clergy were involved in it. You know what I mean? Like, people were led around on leashes, or like worshipped a goat for like a week or something like that. It's legit. And I know it sounds insane.
I mean,
and that's why that's why I really wish I could reference it. But a lot of cultures and a lot of religious institutions, even Mardi Gras is like Fat Tuesday, right? That's French. That's French. And like, the Fat Tuesday was, I think it was before Easter Monday? No, after Easter Monday. Because you had it, right. And I'm probably getting this all confused, but you understand the principle that I'm going for is that these things
and you're not
existed,
wrong where you're taking it with. Yes, I agree.
Right. And so we, like, whether you want to use Halloween for that principle or not. And I'm sure even way back then, there would have been Puritans like sitting in their cottages going, this is unholy. Like, we shouldn't be doing these things, and wagging their fingers and feeling morally superior.
Of course. Okay, great. Even it having come from the Pope.
Right. Yes. And so if that's what religion is to you, if it's literally a moral soapbox, you win.
Yep.
You win for that week.
And I'm not going to argue with you either.
Yeah.
Okay.
And look, and even if you put Halloween in that sphere, and if you put Mardi Gras sort of in that sphere, you know, it becomes a lot more humane and objective and sort of understandable, you know. But to your very early point about like, why don't Australians give a fuck? And I go, well, I would like a Halloween or a festival for us, our own, independent, our own little thing. You know, let's have our own identity. Let's have our own culture, shall we?
Yeah.
That's my hot.
Well, so I'm going to sound like a fucking douche, but like, so, God damn, the native people of Australia, what is their
Aboriginals? Yes.
Thank you very much. So is there no holiday kind of like, I know that's a fucking dark and.
No, ask the question.
Do they have any significance? Do their cultural celebrations come into play at all?
Right. So the simple and sad answer is no.
Okay.
And not yet. But to give it some context, in terms of modern day white Australia, like, Aboriginal tribes were as scattered and diverse as like the native Indians, like American, colonies, right? So they weren't a monolith. You know, the Apache were different to the Cree, were different to the Blackfoot, and like the same thing, the same thing here. A lot of nomadic tribes, some tribes, you know, once they found a nice spot by the Hawkesbury River, they camped there and they fought over it there like anybody else. And I'm sure there are there would be a ton of traditions and spiritual ceremonies, and probably more to do with astronomy and the star alignment, because of course they wouldn't have had calendars until the white man showed up and said, this is a Monday, this is a Tuesday. You know what I mean? They would have had seasonal sort of changes and things like that. But again, there wouldn't be like one unifying sort of principle or moment. And to this day, that
makes a lot of sense.
Sort of right. But see, and to sort of tie this into what I was saying previous, like what I would love in my lifetime was that if we were to become a republic, an independent nation, we could then plant our own flag of this is the day of Australian independence, which includes all of its peoples, right? So again, like we're the largest multicultural island in the world. So this sort of takes the sort of venom out of Australia Day when Captain Cook arrived at Botany Bay, and thus began the sort of white colonization. You give people a date and a moment to unify around, and at the moment we don't have that yet, partly because we don't see the necessity for it. We're a very fucking laid back people, which is frustrating because I've talked about this previously, I know, but I attribute it more to like a slow boiling frog and a quiet death, because apathy will kill you as slowly and as deeply as anything else. And so we sort of moved from being the puppets of the crown to sort of being the puppets of the US. But and this is probably why I've got a little bit of spice around Halloween, because when I was growing up, like America may have been regarded as like the cool uncle, and so we'll oh, that's cool, we want that, we'll dress like that, we'll borrow your television, your music, the styles, the cultural references, this sort of shit. We'll borrow all of that because we don't really have it for ourselves, or we're not confident to establish it enough, right? But probably in the last 10 years or so, it's probably longer, but it's become more and more apparent that who you thought was the cool uncle is kind of sleazy, kind of drunk at the wheel, so like maybe they're not the greatest, coolest role model. The rose tinted glasses in your youth, have worn off by now. And again, I'll be clear, this isn't a criticism of America.
No.
This is and I'm specifying for all the YouTube fucking bots. It's not a criticism of America. It is a criticism of Australians sort of buying into anything and everything that's sort of around them without establishing themselves. And for a lot of reasons, you asked if the native Aboriginals have any sort of day or moment. And the answer is no. Whereas our cousins down in New Zealand, the Maori, have much more significance in their day-to-day culture. Right. And that was established at colonialism. It was sort of part of the whole setting up. I'm not a huge expert on New Zealand.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, though. Like, those guys look like people you don't fuck with. So, like, if they said, hey, you're going to fucking take part of what we fucking say, or you're going to fucking die, I'm sure that they believed them.
That's sort of what it came down to. It was like the redcoats, who were the English soldiers at the time, it wasn't as easy to take New Zealand, which is a much smaller island where the Maoris who knew the land, who knew how it worked, would like, guerrilla warfare and everything else. Like, we are going to fuck you up. We are going to fuck you up with spears and clubs, and all this sort of shit. And proudly. Straight up. And why not? And what every Aboriginal tribe probably wished that they could have done had they not been so dispersed. And so it was written into the New Zealand Constitution that these rights will be protected and whatever else for the native peoples there. So they have much more of a cultural presence in modern day New Zealand life than Australians do, which is, again, another little interesting factoid.
It is. No, I love that. I love that. I think honestly, this episode has made me want to do another special, and it be a history lesson from Chris on Australia, because there's a ton of questions. And it doesn't have to be so accurate, but I mean, even things where
prep me first, and I'll do a little bit of research. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
but like even just questions from me as an American that I've thought in my head, like how attached to the Commonwealth are you? You know, like what, like
none. Well, me personally, none. The King's here at the moment. King Charles.
Okay.
Yeah, literally is literally here at the moment with what's her name, Camilla. They arrived in Sydney at the time of recording. They arrived in Sydney probably last week.
Okay.
And so he's doing his sort of national tour down here and shit, but it's sort of a shrug of indifference, and we might see a minor celebrity. It's not, we're not lining the streets saying God save the King.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. See, yeah, we should do that. We should do that. We're going to save that.
We'll put it on the list.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about too is so in the kind of like, I didn't want to sound specifically like I was bashing Christians. Like I said, I love you guys. I know where it's coming from. And I do want to acknowledge that on Halloween, for instance, you do have a rise in crime. You do have a
really?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Everyone's drinking a lot of chocolate.
Yeah, and I'm sure. Yes,
rowdy skateboarders are throwing eggs everywhere.
Right. And I'm sure, like we're saying, it has a lot more to do with that than, you know, satanic cults wiping out a fucking town, or, you know, like,
yeah,
so that kind of shit. But there also was an interesting thing that I looked up, and this was, I'll have to find the piece. Maybe I'll splice it in, where it's this guy that practiced Satanism. And he talks about it. He says, yeah, fucking Halloween is it, baby. We love that shit. Like, it is all about that for us for way different reasons than you motherfuckers think. And that's kind of too what, if I'm acknowledging and waving at the Christians, I see you. I get it, you know, but at the same time, I think without, you know, having to invest too much time into exploring something you don't want to explore, just a tiny bit of research shows you that, like, some of the things that you're associating with are, again, probably a skateboarder egging some house and breaking a window, probably a drunk guy at a bar fucking punching somebody in the face in the parking lot. You know, probably a parent on the street that sees his kids fucking bully and decides to fight dad. You know, those kind of fucking things that it's like, it's not fucking Michael and Jason running across fucking Elm Street just fucking fighting Freddy Krueger and fucking
possessed children.
Oh my God. You know, like, please, for the love of God, just leave it at the fact that people want to celebrate community and togetherness, and kids like to dress up. I'm sorry, you're not a retard. You're not. You know, kids like to dress, even Christian kids. I dressed up as a knight. I dressed up as a knight, and I played with my sword and my shield, and I fucking loved every bit of it. Every bit. Every bit.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that's it for me, really. I covered everything I wanted to cover. Was there anything that you wanted to ask?
What are the boys going as for? You said you're still working out what we're going to dress baby Mia as. So what are the boys going as for Halloween?
Jax is going as a Freddy Fazbear character. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's very popular in the States right now. It's like animatronics, like killer animatronics.
Okay. No, yeah. Is it Friday Night at Freddy's? Is it that bad?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Then I do know what you're talking about.
Yep. So he's going as him.
Big ask. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, he's going as him. Bentley is going as Scream.
Nice. Classic.
Cole's going as Michael Myers. And
classic.
Elijah has not picked yet. He is undecided. So he has this weekend. That's it. And if he doesn't decide, then he's shit out of luck. He's gonna be a paper bag, I guess.
You and Tiff?
I cheat. I so cheat. Like, it's so corny, but I have this kind of robe looking thing that makes me look a little bit like a Jedi, and I have a light up lightsaber, and I just walk the street in that. That's what I got.
That works out. That works out.
So we'll be an assortment. We'll be an assortment. Once you have over 2 kids, there's no coordinating. You do not get to coordinate anymore. I mean, we got Freddy Fazbear. We got we've got all sorts of weird shit.
So this is literally just prompted a memory right now. If we're talking about sort of inappropriate celebrations,
okay.
The best costume party I ever went to.
You've attended one, you Scrooge. That's cheating.
No, costume party, not Halloween.
Okay,
but just,
okay. Just themed costume party.
Correct. So, but a very specific theme. Okay. And it was for a lesbian's 50th birthday party. And she's the most like non-PC out there. It was. And it was like an impolitically correct costume party. So if you have any gay friends, you know how wild their sense of humor can be, like really fucking dark. It was so, and this particular woman, same thing. Like she was blunt as a blunt motherfucker. And so when she said like non-PC, there's no limits. There was no limits to how far you could take it. Right. So, and I thought, shit, I'll get to me last, but I was with some friends. And I was with my girlfriend at the time. I think she went as Miley Cyrus in the little Miley Cyrus outfit, like from the Wrecking Ball film clip, because that was hot at the time. So she went as that. Now, some of the great costumes that I remember there was a flight hostess from the Malaysia Airlines flight that went missing. Yeah, it was amazing. There was a couple of nuns with aborted babies. Like this, like full habit. Brody's on a spit take of his water. Right. There was one.
This is a brilliant theme, by the way.
It is. It was great. You know, there was one. This is fucking hilarious. There was one black kid, and he was literally dressed in like farm gear. That Deborah had hired him for the night to sort of serve drinks and stuff. And he's like, "Oh, hey, thanks, man." He's like, "Cool. I'm a slave." Like that. This is his role. There was a dwarf in a tuxedo and he was opening the door. Right? So, and all of this was totally fine because everyone knew the rules and they knew like this is what it's going to be at Deb's party and you know all the rest of it. Now, I don't know if I won, but I might have came close. I was dressed as a nerd, like button up collared thing, very tight pants, boots, probably big glasses like yours, Broedy. Okay. And I went as a member of the Westboro Baptist Church. And I went holding a sign saying God hates fags. So I went to the politically incorrect 50th birthday party for this lesbian with all of her gay friends, holding a sign saying God hates fags, and I was met with applause.
I'm going to be honest with you. That's fucking brilliant. And you have the fucking balls of an ox, my friend.
Well,
God. How did you not get eaten alive?
No, dude, but here's the thing, because I knew I had to make him look like a nerd because I didn't want anyone taking me seriously. I felt so uncomfortable. But then, like halfway through the night, you know, my gay friend at the time, he's like, "Hey man, where's your sign?" I'm like, I just sort of left it over here because I was he's like, no. And so he's like in I think just a pair of white briefs and boots and maybe a cowboy hat. Just went over so this little gay twink is then holding a sign saying God hates fags and having a champagne. I'm like, amazing. But again, like it's kind of to your point, it was community. Like this was the mandate. You know, how far do you want to take it?
Beautiful, bro. That's my whole thing is like it's and I wonder too, like not to say that there wouldn't be groups of people in the US that would do that, right? Like I know there's people here that have a sense of humor. I'm not dismissing that. It feels like the more that we talk and get to know each other in where we live a little bit in depth is like I just don't think that would be the norm, though. You would have someone at the fucking party going, wow, that's a little too far.
Look, maybe. Who's to say? You know, I think, and I think it's also, obviously there was no ill intent as well. You know what I mean? So everyone, they knew Deborah, who was completely unreserved, unfiltered.
She sounds unhinged, is what she...
She's a really cool chick. Really cool chick.
Yeah, sorry, Deborah. I already love you. I think that was a fucking amazing party.
It was an amazing way to turn 50. And, you know, the yard was packed. The house was packed. Everyone was having a great time. No one was giving the side eye of like, what are they wearing? Like, none of that sort of shit. It was always like, who are you? What is that? That's amazing. He's a slave. Oh my God, this is hilarious. You know, and still mutually respectful to kind of everyone, which was great. So again, like within context, you know,
well, what's that quote? I will not be able to pull it up, but it's kind of it talks about how like taking the controversy out of it or putting the extreme into the situation disarms it immediately. You know, like it's kind of like that. You know, it's like everybody's there making their blatant fucking bigotry statement. You know, like whatever it might be, and it's a joke, you know, it's a joke. And if you can take it that way.
Unfiltered. Sorry, that was the word I was looking for. Unfiltered.
Okay, that's
and actually that ties in nicely to Halloween, and it ties in nicely to Mardi Gras and sort of the point and the ancient sort of festival we're talking about. It's like, here we go, wrap it up for the moral of the day. How many opportunities in your life as a community do you get to be unfiltered? Do you get to feel unfiltered, where I can just express it and no one's going to judge, you know, hold it over me. Like, you're not going to regret it the next day. You just want the opportunity and the permission.
That's just when you
like you said,
Puritans like you were talking about, though.
Sure, and they'll always be there. But like for one day of the week, you can shut the fuck up because you're the minority. You know what I mean? And guaranteed, like the Puritans generally are a minority. They're just fucking loud. Right? Because
right. Yes.
And social media.
Yes. Misfits.
Puritan,
if you take anything from the fucking episode, please, that sometimes the fucking smallest motherfucking group of people tend to be the loudest. And that does not mean they are correct. That does not.
It's that bell curve thing. Like everyone on the fringes like has to scream the loudest because they feel like they're not being heard. Right? And so extremists, Puritans, like all that sort of stuff, you know what I mean? Whereas we've had this discussion many times, and I'm going to reiterate it here, is like there is a silent, reasonable majority, you know, who aren't in the YouTube comments like starting flame wars, aren't like jumping on moral soapboxes to prove a point, you know, all this sort of shit, you know, who understand context and can appreciate that and aren't out to skewer somebody for some sort of personal agenda. And the problem is, because you're a silent, reasonable majority, you couldn't be fucked arguing like with the extremists, right? Which creates a little bit of an imbalance in the algorithms, because the algorithms reward loud extremism and not so much these reasonable discussions, hopefully. But
but I mean, you look at that, just to wrap up here, I think that's a great note to land on. And I think you will find balance in the sense that when the extremes are all that's available, you will be starved and hungry for exactly what we're talking about. And I think people will find and seek it. You know, I'm tired of listening to fucking this dude tell me I'm going to rot in hell because I fucking took my kid trick-or-treating. The fuck do you mean, bro? What?
All five of them. They're going to hell 5 times.
Yeah, Jesus. I'm burned. I'm fried, dude. That's it. But I love that. This has actually been a great fucking episode that had a ton of substance other than just talking about Halloween. That was cool.
Rather than spooky masks and pumpkins. So there you go, Misfits. If you happen to be joining us for the first time, this is what the B-sides of life entail. It's money, sex, relationships, Halloween, cultural differences. What unifies us is actually more interesting and deeper than what separates us.
Yes.
And that's what we talk about. And we talk about everything, we solve nothing. So if that's your kind of jam, then join us once a week. This has been your little holiday special in between 2 seasons, and we're kicking off season 6 very, very shortly. Otherwise, you can find us at promisfitspodcast.com. You can obviously find us on YouTube and Spotify and find all 6 back seasons of content that we've talked about, interesting things. And season 6 is looking good. So, Broedy, any hype? You're the hype man. So any hype for season 6?
Yeah, I mean, I just mentioned it a little bit in the episode. I think
you mentioned editing changes, and I don't know how I feel about it because Brody's just taken over Misfits.
Yeah, editing changes that I think are just going to be fun and cool and helpful. I think even in the context of our social media content that goes out, you've upgraded. You look fantastic. I mean, holy shit. Yes,
please continue.
Do. God, you can see all the details on his handsome face. That's it. It just falls in line with exactly like what we've been talking about season after season, is that if you do this thing right and there's an investment on your side, you'll see this natural progression. If you do this right, because you can stay in the same spot. You can do the same thing over and over again. You can fucking churn a bunch of different things and not find what hits. There's tons of paths that suck. But if you play your cards, you can do something that feels progressive, that feels like it's going to evolve and is evolving. So I hope you all find that. I hope you all eat a reasonable fucking amount of sugar. For the love of God, that's the one thing. Dude, that's the one thing, Misfits. Don't eat so much sugar. I know it's Halloween. I know it is. I know that's the point. But you can have 1 or 2 pieces of candy and say tomorrow. Like, holy shit.
You're such a dad, Broedy.
God.
What happened to 14-year-old skateboarders? You know what I mean?
God, dude. God. Well, when they're 14, they can go out and wreak havoc, because then I'm not watching them bounce off of my walls.
That's fair. All right, Misfits, that wraps it up for the holiday special. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you for season 6, hopefully. If you're bored, go back and check season 5 and seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we'll see you for season 6. In the meantime, I've been Chris.
I've been Broedy.
And you stay classy, Misfits. Have a happy Halloween wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you on the next one.